Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive with us. We'd love to take a script or a book or an article and just really dig in and pull out those key insights.
Yeah.
Um, and today's deep dive is no different. We're going to be looking at a script that is all about the hurdles learners face,
Mm-hmm.
and not just like how they overcome those hurdles, but how they can really thrive even in the face of those challenges.
Right.
And this is going to be applicable whether you yourself are a learner,
Mm-hmm.
maybe you're a student, or maybe you're someone who's going back to school,
Yeah.
or if you're an educator, or if you're a parent. We've got something for you.
Yeah.
Or maybe you're just curious about how we learn and how we can all be more successful.
Yeah. I think this script is a great starting point because it really does highlight the diversity of learners and the challenges they face.
And absolutely.
One of the things that struck me right away is how the script opens. You see the student really grappling with their studies, like feeling totally lost.
Oh, yeah, it definitely grabs your attention.
Yeah, and it's like a visceral reminder
hmm
that, we all face obstacles
Yeah.
in learning, but it's really how we react to them that makes all the difference.
Yeah, and I think, it's so easy to just feel defeated when
Yeah.
you hit a wall like that.
Yeah.
But what this script, I think, emphasizes so beautifully is that those moments aren't the end of the story.
Mm-hmm.
It's about reframing those obstacles as part of the journey,
Exactly.
not as a dead end.
Obstacles aren't roadblocks.
Right, exactly.
They're like speed bumps, you know?
I like that. I like that analogy a lot.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
slow down a little bit. You got to kind of navigate them, but you keep going.
Yeah, and you might even learn something from that speed bump.
Exactly.
You
You how to
definitely-
navigate them better the next time.
Yeah, absolutely. And that leads us, I think, to one of the most crucial points in this whole script.
Early identification.
Yes, early identification.
Think about how much smoother the learning journey could be if we recognize potential learning differences like dyslexia or ADHD right from the get-go.
Absolutely.
And it's not just about the individual student either. It
Right.
impacts families, teachers, everyone involved.
Absolutely. There's that one scene where a teacher is talking to Sarah's parents
Mm-hmm.
about her struggles with reading. And it's like that moment, right?
Yeah.
It underscores how vital it is
Mhm.
to be aware of the signs, not just for ourselves, but for those around us too.
Right, because sometimes the signs aren't always super obvious.
Right. And there's that question, right? Like, what are some common misconceptions that might prevent people from seeking help early on?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the thing, right?
Mm.
If we can get that help early on,
Mm-hmm.
then that journey is going to be that much smoother.
Exactly. One of the big ones is that learning disabilities are all about intelligence, which simply isn't true.
Right.
Another one is that they're a sign of laziness or lack of effort.
Mm-hmm.
And these myths can create so much shame and stigma and really prevent individuals from getting the support they need.
Absolutely.
So we need to shift that conversation away from blame and toward understanding.
Yes. And I think to do that, having a strong support system is key.
Oh, absolutely.
The script paints this really heartwarming picture of a special education classroom
Mm-hmm.
where the teacher is so supportive and providing individual attention to each student.
Yeah,
And it's such a contrast to that feeling of isolation
right.
that the opening scene portrays.
Yeah, it really highlights the need for a multifaceted approach, teachers, parents, specialists, and of course the learners themselves
Yeah.
all working together.
It's a team effort.
Exactly. And it's not just about, warm and fuzzy encouragement. It's
Yeah.
about putting those concrete support systems in place.
Yes.
Right.
And this is where the script mentions IEPs and 504 plans.
Mhm.
But,
How many people actually understand how those work in practice?
right, let's unpack that a little bit.
Yeah.
What are IEPs and 504 plans, and how do they help level the playing field for students with learning differences?
Mm-hmm.
Because, I think some of our listeners might have heard those terms,
Yeah.
but not really grasp what they entail.
So an IEP, or an individualized education program, is a legal document that's tailored to a student's specific needs.
Okay.
It outlines goals, accommodations, and services the school will provide.
So it's like a plan.
It's a roadmap.
Okay.
A 504 plan is named after Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act.
Okay.
It's similar to an IEP, but it's broader.
Okay.
It ensures that students with disabilities have equal access to education.
So it's not just about good intentions.
Right.
It's about legally mandated support.
Exactly.
But I think we also know that even with these plans in place, a lot of families still face challenges.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
What are some of the roadblocks that they encounter?
Well, just navigating the system can be really daunting.
Yeah.
Some families struggle to get their child properly assessed and diagnosed. Others face pushback from schools that are under-resourced
Yeah.
or hesitant to provide the necessary accommodations. And then there's the emotional toll, the advocacy fatigue that sets in when families have to constantly fight for their child's rights. It can be a long and arduous process.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And, that brings us to another important aspect that the script highlights, and that's technology. There's this really striking visual of a teenager using text-to-speech software.
Yeah.
And it's just like this instant light bulb moment where you see how technology can make learning so much more accessible.
It can be a game changer.
Yeah, but it's not just about having the tools.
No, it's about knowing how to use them effectively.
Exactly.
And having access to them in the first place.
Right. So think about audiobooks, voice to text, even something as simple as a well-designed app. These can be game changers for learners who struggle with traditional methods.
Right. But teachers also need training on how to integrate these tools effectively
Absolutely.
into their classrooms.
Yeah.
And schools need the resources to provide them. It's not about replacing good teaching.
Right.
It's about expanding our toolkit.
Yes. And this is where things, I think, get even more interesting. It's not just about tech as this magic bullet,
Right.
but about how teaching itself needs to evolve.
Yes.
There's a scene that shows a classroom with hands-on learning activities, and it really emphasizes how crucial it is to engage students in multiple ways.
That's a key point because we all learn differently.
Yes.
Some of us are visual learners, others thrive on auditory input. Still others need to move and interact with the world around them.
Right.
So teachers who embrace those multisensory approaches,
Yes.
who create those dynamic and interactive learning environments, those are the teachers who are truly empowering their students.
Yes. And I think that's what's so exciting about this script is that it's not just about here's the problem and here's the solution.
Right.
It's really about digging into these deeper questions
Right.
of okay, what does it actually mean to learn?
Yeah.
And how can we create learning environments that really work for everybody? Okay, so this is where the script, I think, takes a turn that I found really fascinating because it goes beyond, the tools and the strategies, and it starts to talk about something deeper, resilience and self-confidence.
Yeah. And that's where the neuroscience comes in.
Ooh, tell me more.
So you see, when we face a challenge and we overcome it, our brains release dopamine.
Okay.
This neurotransmitter is associated with pleasure and reward.
Okay.
It's that feeling of, I did it.
Yes.
That motivates us to keep learning and growing.
Yes.
So celebrating those small victories isn't just feel-good fluff.
Right.
It's actually rewiring our brains for success.
Wow, I
Yeah.
love that. I love that. So it's those small wins are little building blocks for bigger achievement.
Exactly. And the script shows this heartwarming scene of a young boy struggling with a puzzle, and he finally succeeds with the support of his peers.
Yes.
And you can almost feel that surge of dopamine.
Oh, yeah.
Just watching him.
You could see it on his face.
Yeah.
It's so great. So I think what we're seeing here is that resilience isn't just about this individual grit.
No.
It's about having a supportive environment as well.
It's fostered by that support.
Yeah, that scene, I think, highlights how crucial it is to have people around us who believe in our abilities and encourage us to keep going, even when it's tough.
Yeah. Think about your own life. Who are the people who helped you develop resilience? Who cheered you on when you doubted yourself?
That's such a good point.
Yeah.
We rarely achieve anything truly great in isolation.
We need each other.
We really do. And speaking of support, I think what the script is building towards here is this larger message about advocating for inclusive education,
Yes.
about breaking down barriers so that everybody has the chance to thrive.
Absolutely. And it moves beyond just those individual struggles to challenging us as a society to create systems where all learners feel valued and supported.
And that scene with the students presenting their project on learning disabilities is such a powerful example of that.
It is.
They're not just sharing information.
Right.
They're advocating for understanding and change.
They're taking ownership of their
Yes.
learning and their experiences.
And it's a reminder that we all have a role to play
Absolutely.
in creating a more inclusive world.
We all have something to contribute.
Yes. But let's be real for a second.
Okay.
Isn't there a risk of tokenism when we focus solely on student-led advocacy?
That's a really important point.
How do we make sure that we're actually creating systemic change.
Right. It can't just be about awareness campaigns. It has to be about real, concrete changes in policy and practice.
So student voices are essential,
Absolutely.
but they shouldn't be the only voices driving change.
Right. We need educators, policymakers, community leaders, all working together to create those policies and allocate those resources that truly support inclusive education.
It's about shifting those power dynamics
Exactly.
and making sure that those who are most impacted by the system have a seat at the table.
They need to be part of the decision-making process.
Yes. And this is where things start to get really complex. And I think the script does a good job of not shying away from that complexity.
It doesn't offer easy answers.
Right.
It's about prompting us to think critically
Yes.
about those challenges
Yes.
and works towards a more equitable future for all learners.
Yes. And it's about recognizing that learning knows no boundaries. And we need to break down the barriers that limit access and opportunity.
Which leads to a thought-provoking question for all of us.
Okay, I like where this is going.
What does breaking barriers actually mean in our own lives and work?
And how can we as individuals contribute to creating a world where every learner has the chance to reach their full potential?
It's a question worth pondering.
It is. And we'll delve deeper into those questions after a short break. We're back. I'm still thinking about those students advocating for themselves, and it just made me wonder, like, are we doing enough to really, like, challenge those assumptions?
Yeah.
You know, those deep-seated assumptions about what it means to be smart or successful.
Right, because those assumptions can be really limiting.
Yeah.
And this script really encourages us to broaden our definition of intelligence.
Yeah.
It's not just about test scores or, academic achievements. It's about recognizing that incredible diversity of human potential.
Yeah.
The creativity, the problem-solving skills, resilience, all those qualities that contribute to success.
In all areas of life.
Yeah, not just in the classroom.
Exactly. Yeah. And sometimes I think those qualities shine brightest when we're facing challenges.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. Like, the script doesn't shy away from the fact that learning can be tough. But it emphasizes that those struggles, those moments of feeling lost or stuck, those are actually opportunities for growth.
It's like that saying, smooth seas never made a skilled sailor.
Ooh, I like that.
Right?
Yeah.
When we encounter obstacles, we're forced to think outside the box, to adapt and develop new strategies.
Yeah.
And that process, that struggle, that's what builds resilience and character.
Yeah, it's like you're building those muscles.
Exactly. You've got to work those muscles.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
But I think also what we see is that resilience doesn't just happen in a vacuum.
Right.
We were talking earlier about the importance of support systems. And it seems like the script is weaving together these different threads of, like, individual effort and supportive environments.
Yeah, it's not either.
Right.
You need both.
Right.
You need that internal drive, that inner spark of determination, and the external support of teachers, mentors, family, even peers who understand and encourage us.
Remember that scene with the boy solving the puzzle?
Oh, yeah.
Like, the script, I think, subtly points to the role of peer support in building that confidence and fostering that sense of belonging.
That feeling of, hey, I'm not alone in this.
Yes.
Other people have faced similar challenges and come out stronger on the other side.
And that just makes such a difference.
It does. It's that shared experience, that sense of community.
Yeah.
It can be so powerful.
And I think also just, as humans, we're social creatures.
Right.
We need that connection.
We do.
And I think, what this also reminds us is that we can all play a role in supporting others.
Absolutely.
Maybe it's just offering a listening ear to a friend who's struggling. Maybe it's sharing resources or strategies that have worked for us.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's just creating a space where people feel safe to talk about their challenges without judgment.
Creating that space for vulnerability.
Yes. And I think sometimes the most powerful form of support is just believing in someone's potential, even when they're doubting themselves.
Yes. It's just that belief can make all the difference.
Yeah, and this makes me think about the role of educators. They have this incredible opportunity to not only teach, but to inspire.
Yes, to nurture those seeds of resilience and self-belief.
Yes, and that goes beyond just the academic subjects.
It does. It's about creating a classroom culture
Mm-hmm.
where it's okay to make mistakes,
Yes.
to ask for help,
Yeah.
to try and fail and try again.
Yes.
It's about fostering that growth mindset,
Yeah.
the belief that our abilities are not fixed, but can be developed
Yeah.
through effort and learning.
Which brings us back to that big question of inclusivity.
Mm.
How can we create learning environments that embrace that full spectrum of human potential?
Right, where every student feels seen, heard, and supported.
Yes, and I think one key aspect that the script highlights is the need for diverse learning approaches.
Absolutely.
Remember that scene with the hands-on learning activities?
Mm.
It's a reminder that not everybody thrives in a traditional lecture-style classroom.
Right. Some students need to move,
Mm-hmm.
to build, to create,
Yeah.
to experience learning in a more tangible way.
And that's where I think technology comes in again.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about how tools like text-to-speech software can level the playing field.
Yeah, it can make information so much more accessible.
Yes. But it's not just about assistive technology.
Right.
It's about using technology to create more engaging
Mm-hmm.
and interactive learning experiences for all students.
Think about virtual reality simulations, interactive games,
Yeah.
even online platforms that allow students to learn at their own pace
Yes.
and in a style that suits them best.
Yes.
Technology has the potential to really personalize learning
Yes.
in ways that were never before possible.
But I think there's also a flip side to this, right?
Mm-hmm.
We need to be mindful of the digital divide,
Absolutely.
the gap between those who have access to technology
Mm-hmm.
and those who don't.
Right, and that gap can be significant.
Yes. So how can we make sure that technology is being used to bridge that gap?
Right, not widen it.
Exactly.
It's not enough to just provide access. We need to ensure that all students have the skills and support they need
Yes.
to use it effectively.
So that means investing in digital literacy programs,
Yes.
providing training for teachers,
Mm-hmm.
and working to close that
Mhm.
digital divide.
Yes. In our communities and in our schools.
And this goes beyond just the physical access
Right.
to devices and internet.
Mm-hmm.
It's about creating a digital learning environment
Yes.
that's inclusive and equitable,
Absolutely.
where all students feel comfortable
Mm-hmm.
and confident in their ability to participate and succeed.
It's about creating a sense of belonging
Yes.
in that digital space.
Which brings us back to that theme of empathy.
Mm.
We need to understand the diverse needs
Yeah.
and experiences of learners.
And design systems that are flexible and
Mhm.
responsive to those needs.
It's about shifting from standardization
Right.
to personalization.
From one size fits all
Yeah.
to a system that celebrates those individual strengths
Yes.
and provides support for areas of challenge.
Okay, so we've talked about students advocating for themselves,
Mm-hmm.
but how can we empower them
Yeah,
to do that effectively?
that's a great question. And it's not just about teaching students to speak up.
Mm.
It's about creating a culture where their voices are valued and heard.
Yes.
It's about giving them the tools and knowledge they need
Mm.
to articulate their needs, to navigate complex systems, and to advocate for themselves and others.
And that requires, I think, a fundamental shift in how we view that relationship
Yes.
between students and educators.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about a top-down model where teachers hold all the knowledge and power.
Right. It's about co-creation,
Yes.
collaboration,
Mhm.
and a shared commitment to creating a learning environment that
Yes.
works for everyone.
And recognizing that students are not just passive recipients of knowledge,
Right.
but active participants in their own learning journey.
And when we empower them to take ownership,
Mm.
we unlock a whole new level of potential.
This deep dive is really making me rethink my own assumptions about learning and success.
Mm,
It's challenging me to see the world through the lens of inclusivity
yeah.
and to recognize the power of individual voices in driving systemic change.
It's a powerful message.
It is. But how do we move from these lofty ideals
Right.
to concrete action?
That's the million-dollar question.
It is. What are some tangible steps we can take
Mhm.
as individuals and as a society
Mm.
to create a more equitable and empowering learning landscape for all?
We'll explore those questions in our final segment.
Stay tuned. We've covered so much, from the neuroscience of resilience to the power of supportive environments.
It's been quite a journey.
It really has. But I keep coming back to that question that the script poses.
Mm.
how do we actually break down those barriers to learning?
Right. It's such a big question.
It feels huge.
It is a massive undertaking.
Yeah.
But I think what's so encouraging about the script is that it doesn't present it as this like impossible feat. You know, it highlights how those individual actions, even those seemingly small ones, can ripple outward and create this like wave of change.
So it's not about waiting for this like grand systemic overhaul.
Right.
It's about each of us taking responsibility
Mm-hmm.
in our own little spheres of influence.
Exactly. Like, think about it. If you're a teacher,
Mm,
maybe it's about incorporating more multisensory learning activities into your lessons.
Right.
Or advocating for more funding for assistive technology. If you're a parent,
mhm.
maybe it's about having those open conversations with your kids
Yeah.
about different learning styles and celebrating their unique strengths.
What about for people who aren't directly involved in education?
Yeah.
What can they do?
Oh, there's so much.
Okay.
It could be as simple as volunteering your time to a local literacy program,
Okay.
donating to organizations that support learners with disabilities,
Mhm.
or even just educating yourself
Right.
about the different challenges that people face.
Because awareness is often the first step towards action.
Absolutely. The more we understand about the barriers that exist,
Mm-hmm.
the better equipped we are to dismantle them.
Yes. And that dismantling often starts with challenging our own assumptions and biases.
Right, because we all carry around these preconceived notions
Mm.
of what normal learning looks like.
Right. And those can be so limiting.
It can be really damaging.
So it's about constantly questioning those assumptions.
Yeah, being open to different perspectives and recognizing that there's no one right way to learn.
Or to be successful.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about creating this culture of curiosity,
Mm-hmm.
empathy, and respect for those individual differences.
Imagine a world where learning differences are seen not as deficits,
Mhm.
but as strengths.
Yeah, as sources of creativity and innovation.
That's a world I want to live in.
Me too.
And I think the script is suggesting that this vision isn't some utopian dream,
Right.
but a real, tangible possibility
Oh.
if we all work together.
It's about shifting from that deficit-based model to an asset-based model,
Yes.
from focusing on what people can't do
Right.
to celebrating what they can do.
Yes. And that requires a fundamental shift in our language,
Mhm.
our attitudes, and our systems.
It's about creating spaces where everyone feels welcome, supported, and empowered to
Mhm.
learn and grow.
It's about dismantling those barriers,
That's
those
right.
artificial barriers that separate us from them,
Yes.
and recognizing that we're all part of this diverse
Mm.
and interconnected learning community.
We're all in this together.
We are. And you know, this deep dive has been so much more than just unpacking a script.
It has.
It's really been a journey of self-reflection,
Mhm.
you know, challenging me to confront my own biases
Yeah.
and to think more critically about the world around me.
And it's a journey that doesn't end here.
Right.
You know, this script has given us a roadmap, a starting point for action.
Yes.
But it's up to each of us
Mhm.
to take those next steps, to find our own ways to contribute to creating that more inclusive and equitable learning landscape for all.
So as we wrap up, let's circle back to that powerful closing message from the script. Learning knows no boundaries. Let's break the barriers together. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, in your own life or your work.
How can you help break barriers to learning?
We encourage you to continue this conversation, to reflect on those insights we've shared,
Yes.
and to find your own path to action.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
We'll see you next time.